Hello there. You're listening to the Box Office Show. I'm Ryan Hill.
And I'm Dylan Johnson. Today we're going to be talking about the box office numbers from last weekend and our box office predictions for this upcoming weekend.
And at long last, we'll be talking about Bong Joon-Ho's newest film, Mickey 17. Let's hop into some news as a continuation from our most recent grab bag. We talked a little bit about Ted Lasso, season 3. And I asked you, Dylan, would you be down if season 4 was on its way?
Oh, yeah.
It turns out we have confirmation. Season 4 is
Told
coming.
you. I told you it was coming. I knew it. I knew it was going to come. Jason Sudeikis returns.
Indeed. So you will be there watching that. Apple TV just got another subscription out of you. So Severance is next season and Ted Lasso's next season. Both will get you back for at least a month on that platform. Solid stuff. In other news, Netflix, one of their flagship shows, Black Mirror, is returning soon with a 7th season. They dropped a trailer and I watched it and I thought it was pretty good. I didn't watch the most recent season of Black Mirror, but this next one I am intrigued by. As you might have guessed, a lot of it is going to be dealing with AI stuff, which, I mean, always this show was about technology and how it affect our lives, but now that we are like in the midst of AI truly having become normalcy, then I think some of these episodes will hit that much harder. So I'll be watching some of those episodes. Although I've always kind of cherry picked the episodes. Like I have not seen the full show, even all of like season 1 and 2 and 3 when it was sort of really having its come up. So I guess I'll just look and see which ones are the most prominent and for sure watch those and maybe carry on with the rest of it. But how about you, Dylan? What's your relationship with Black Mirror season 7?
I've seen the first 4 seasons of Black Mirror, or 5. I think I saw it this season. I can't remember. I haven't seen a lot of the later seasons, but I'm a big fan of the first few seasons. I was like in love with the show when it was first coming out, you know. And it just kind of fell off for me, I think, when they started transitioning out of like filming and starring British people and starting making it like a worldwide phenomenon, because it was like a British central show on Netflix with British showrunners and British actors and whatnot. And then they started to take the writer's room out of Britain and expand upon, like, not that like Britain is the reason that, I'm saying like coincidentally at the same time that they expanded from Britain to including like outside influences. Once they expanded that writer's room, I think it suffered quite a bit in terms of quality, and I just never kind of hopped back on the bandwagon.
Well, I think it's been the same guy. Like that creator has been the writer of
Yeah.
most of the episodes for sure. And I think all of season 7, he's definitely writing all of those. But yeah, it definitely became a more worldwide show because we had American actors starring in it and big name actors. Because yeah, in season 1 and 2, I mean, they were the British actors, but they weren't like the huge mega stars. And now, again, like in an episode, you'll get a massive star. I think the first one for that was John Hamm, like when they had him for the White Christmas episode.
It's a great episode.
It is very, very good. So will you be watching? There's a sequel to USS Callister in there, it appears.
I've heard about that.
Which was one of the best episodes. I think it was season 4. So
it's a pretty good one. I will consider it. I have so many things that I have to watch. I have so many things I have to tune in for. I will only watch Black Mirror. Black Mirror season 7 is not something that I'm going to be like hyped for as it's leading up. I'm not going to like tune in as soon as it drops. But if it blows people's minds away in the same way that the first 3 seasons did, 3-ish seasons, I could see myself hopping back in and checking it out. But I have no idea, man. I don't know. We'll see.
All right. Our next piece of news, Neil Blomkamp is going to direct the Starship Troopers adaptation that's in the works at Sony. Dylan, do we need a new Starship Troopers?
No. The first one's so good. The original, it's so good. That's Paul Verhoeven, I think, right?
Yes,
It's so
indeed.
fucking good, dude. I love the original Starship Troopers. Always have, always will. I think the camp is really, really great in it. I think uh, the way in which he took what was supposed to be a serious novel about colonialism and warfare and made it a satire about colonialism and warfare, I think is a great choice. And I think the movie succeeds on all fronts. And so I don't really know what. I assume the adaptation is supposed to be more faithful to the original novel, is the attempt. But I mean, that is kind of like going to be very, very pro nationalism, I think. The end of it, if they decide to do that, otherwise they will be just adapting the satire, which the original movie is. This going to be a movie or a miniseries?
A movie.
Yeah, I just don't know what else. I don't know what
Yeah,
else they would do with it other than just try to be more faithful to the novel. But I don't think a movie that is more faithful to the novel is a good idea.
right. Yeah, I just seems like it's piggybacking off of the Helldivers. Is that what it
Hmm.
was?
Yeah.
The Helldivers 2 specifically that uh, was pretty much, I mean, a satire in the vein of Starship Troopers. So they were like, that was successful, and that's also getting movie adaptation. Let's try and match that with a more recognizable name with Starship Troopers. So I don't know. We will see how it goes. But I imagine with Blomkamp, with the films he's made in the past, I doubt he's gonna just do the like straight adaptation of Starship Troopers. There will be
Hmm.
more to it. They'll definitely incorporate some of that commentary. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But I will wait to hear reviews on that one because yeah, I just don't see the need for it.
I'm with you, buddy. Did you watch the original?
I did
Did you like it?
honestly not that much, so
Damn.
I don't really. I'm not itching to see another version of it.
You don't like the I'm doing my part.
I mean that part's cool.
Yeah.
It's
It's
a
good. It's good camp.
solid bit for sure.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we will have to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And our final piece of news: Sadie Sink is going to be starring in Spider-Man 4. Dylan, do you think this is our Gwen Stacy or another Mary Jane that our Tom Holland Spider-Man will be running into?
I don't know. I really don't know. Isn't she a lot younger than Tom Holland?
I mean, nowadays Tom Holland is pushing 30, so that's
Yeah.
that's true. I mean, Sadie Sink is probably what,
Is she younger than us?
22? Yeah, well,
I guess it's
yeah, I
not a
think so.
crazy age
Because the
difference,
Stranger
22 and
Things
30.
kids are all, again, they're all like 21, 22 now.
I don't know. It
So
just seems weird because, she blew up on the third season of Stranger Things when they were all still like 17 and Tom Holland was already a worldwide phenomenon. So it was like, I don't know. They blew up at different ages, I suppose. And so it feels odd, you
Tom
know?
Holland is 28, and Sadie
Huh.
Sink in 1 month will be 23.
All right. Yeah. Okay. I think that's fine. It's not a crazy age gap then. Yeah. I guess she could play a love interest for Tom Holland. Yeah. She could be a Gwen Stacy or a new MJ. Although I was kind of, I mean, Zendaya is going to be in Spider-Man 4, so that
Yeah,
MJ
and they
still
also
exists.
made her, MJ. So it'd be crazy if he
Yeah.
runs into another girl he falls in love with who goes by MJ. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I
I
think
want
we're
them
just
to
assuming that because Sadie Sink naturally has red hair. I think that's
exactly.
unfair of us to assume.
Again, they could just make it blonde and she'll be
Yeah.
Gwen Stacy. But we'll see how that goes. I
She could
wish they
be
would.
one of the like Spider Women, something like that.
I guess that's
Possibly.
true.
Or a Black Cat, maybe.
See, that's what I want. I don't think she would be a great black cat, but I do want a black cat somewhere. We haven't gotten it in
Black
how
Cat would be
many
very
Spider-Man
cool.
movies now? 7 of them.
This would
So
be
8 of
this would be
them.
number
This will
9.
be the ninth.
This will be the ninth live action Spider Man movie.
That's
Yeah,
crazy. And they didn't even do it for, Morbius got a movie adaptation Craven, but Black
yeah,
Cat haven't put her in anything yet. So
nothing.
I think this would be the opportune time to do it,
Making a
especially
Spider
when
Man
these.
noir live action with Nick Cage. Do you think she'll be in
Yeah.
that?
Oh, that would make a lot of
I
sense.
think she would fit into that one very well.
100%, noir. You got
That would
your
be
femme
cool.
fatale right there.
There you go. I'm very excited for that. This just sounds just Nicolas Cage is so old, and he's gonna be playing like a live action Spider Man. It's gonna be so funny. I think it'll be
Yeah,
very good. I think it will be a very good movie.
I'm curious about it. It's not a movie. It's a Prime television show, right?
It's a show.
On Amazon Prime. Yeah, I think.
I'm not as excited for it now. I really want to see this on the big screen. That's so disappointing. All
Well,
right.
you have to settle for your what 75-inch QLED. Is it QLED
Well, yeah,
or
mine's
no?
QLED. Well,
Okay.
what is? That's not what I'm. That's not the point. The point is not that my viewing experience is not good enough for Spider-Man Noir. My point is that the same story told in a 2-hour format upon the big screen with the big screen budget would be much more entertaining than the same story stretched out over 10 episodes with smaller budgets per episode. It's the same argument you have for Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, but I think mine is stronger given the fact that again Obi-Wan was we've seen him on the big screen plenty of times before, and
I've seen
the
Nicolas Cage on the
episodes
big screen so many times. What are you talking about?
not as Spider-Man Noir in live action. So
Live action, sure.
if well, that's
I've
why
seen him
I
animated at least once on the
I
big screen.
specified. Uh, but hopefully they're going the route of let's try and write a television show rather than a movie that we're gonna stretch out and chop up into 6 episodes or whatever it is, because
Hmm.
that was the big Kenobi issue. Um, it just didn't even feel like it merited the extra episodes and extra time we were spending with them. And also because Disney Plus always has terrible episode counts. Like one episode's 30 minutes, the next is 40, the next could be an hour, and the next one's 27
Yeah,
without the credits. So it's ridiculous. So hopefully they're approaching it in a way where it does feel like it's meant to be a television series and not just a movie with padding on there.
yeah.
But we shall see.
Yep. Enough diverging from the main topics. Let's break into the box office breakdown for March 7th to the 9th. In first place, Bong Joon-ho's newest movie, his first movie since Parasite, Mickey 17, made $19 million in his debut. Better than what I thought it would do. About on par with what you thought it would do. Not too
Yes.
bad, not too shabby,
Well, it's not
Mr.
great.
Bong Joon-ho.
Not great at all. But at least it was able to get over the 17 mil mark. So I didn't have to deal with all those headlines from Deadline making fun of it there. But yeah, for a blockbuster of this budget size,
Yeah,
that's rough. That's
sure.
unfortunate. Captain America: Brave New World with 8.3 million in second place.
Last Breath with 4 million in third.
The Monkey right behind it, 3.9 million.
Paddington in Peru, 3.7 million.
Dogman still raking in some bucks, 3.3 mil.
Honora getting that Oscar push post Oscars, the long legs from the Oscars and whatnot, with 1.8 million.
Mufasa, The Lion King with 1.6 million, meaning
Somehow still on there.
its domestic total is over 250 million.
It's got
Crazy.
legs for days, man. It's still in the top 10.
It absolutely does.
It's been months. I thought it wouldn't even be in theaters anymore. Still going. Road Breakers, 1.5 million.
And running at the top 10 in the Lost Lands, barely getting over 1 million. It is Paul W.S. Anderson's newest film, starring, of course, his wife, Mila Jovovich, and Dave Bautista, with a story that was originally written by George R. R. Martin. So, all of that, and we get barely 1 million. That's insane.
Yeah.
Truly.
He's never been. I mean, I guess Resident Evil brought in some buco bucks, but for the most part, I think Event Horizon also. He did Event Horizon, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Event Horizon also didn't garner a lot of money or appraise of any
But
kind.
he's still getting these big budgets. It's insane.
Yeah,
Good for him. I mean, there is an evil thing. I think eventually, like the budgets they had at a decent level, because I mean,
yeah.
7 of those things they wouldn't do that unless it
I think
was
they made decent money on those. Not like Marvel money or like we were going to talk about it excessively kind of money, but they made their budget back. They capitalized on the momentum of Resident Evil.
Yeah. Should we do a director analysis on Paul W.S. Anderson before we do one on Paul Thomas Anderson?
I think we should do them back to back. I
That's
think
what I'm
I
talking
would
about.
be down to do W. S. Anderson director analysis. I think it'd be funny because I've always wanted. I've never seen any of his movies, and I've always wanted to see Event Horizon because I've heard a lot of things about it.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd be curious. It'd be fun to do. We definitely, PTA. That's on the list since he's got one coming out
Oh, you're
this
right.
year.
We are going to do that this year, aren't we?
So it's gonna
It's about
happen.
time. That's going to be like three.
It could
We still
be. I
haven't
mean,
done a
that'd be his whole
Tarantino, have
filmography.
we?
No, well, he needs to make a movie.
Yeah. When his last movie
Um,
finally comes out, then we'll talk about you, Quentin.
exactly. But all right, let's go to the box office predictions for this upcoming weekend, March 14th to the 16th. Novocaine and Black Bag are our two debuting films, both of which, well, I guess Black Bag is more of like a thriller,
Bro,
espionage
Soderbergh is
type
going
thriller, and
crazy
Novocaine is an
in
action
the dead
comedy.
movie season. What is Soderbergh up to? Two movies in 2 months. 3 months,
Hey,
I guess.
that's what I
Going
like to
nuts.
see.
I mean, I guess, yeah. I like to see one movie every year and a half. If a filmmaker can drop a movie every year and a half, I think that's very, very solid momentum these days. Most of the time, it's 3 to 5 years for a director to release a movie. But it used to be every year and a half to 2 years you were dropping a movie. If
Exactly.
you were a very efficient filmmaker, you know, back when we were
Hmm.
youngins, if you remember such
Indeed.
days. But I don't know, for some reason, productions take a lot longer. Maybe CGI takes a long time. And every movie has some CGI in it for something. And the bigger the project is, the bigger the CGI is on it. I mean, the longer that's going to take,
Hmm.
which is
Very
fair. I mean,
true.
you don't want to rush that stuff, or else it looks bad.
So, what do you think will come out on top? Novocaine, Black Bag, or maybe a Mickey 17 retaining the title?
I think Mickey 17 drops down to like 10 million, maybe less than 10 million. I think
Hmm.
Novocaine cracks 13 or 14. I think Novocaine takes top spot.
Gotcha. Okay.
I think Black Bag
Uh,
makes 7 million.
I would agree with that assessment. I'll put Novocaine at more like 10, 11 mil, but I think it's pretty spot on.
Yep. All right, let's talk about our main topic for today, which is, of course, the number one of the box office from the past weekend, Bong Joon-ho's highly anticipated Mickey 17. Now, as you know, Ryan, and as many of the listeners know, Parasite, when it came out, was my favorite movie of the year, and is still currently one of my favorite movies of all time.
Your top
I
four, right? It's on
It's in
your
my top
letterbox top four.
three, actually.
Wow.
And I currently have at least 3 physical copies sitting in my room right now.
Three.
Yeah, I
That's
have
incredible.
my Blu-ray. I have a Blu-ray that I think I got as a gift at some point because I people know I love that movie, or maybe it was Spencer's or something. And I have my Criterion copy, which is the only copy I actually intend on keeping. I think the other two I'll donate or sell or something like that because I don't need 3 copies of Parasite. But the Criterion is cool because they have a. I've seen it. I've seen it so many times. I saw it 3 times in theaters when it came out. I have seen it
Hmm.
at least 4 times since it went out of theaters. Once with the director's commentary, which is a great commentary on the Criterion Collection, and I've seen it once with the uh, on the Criterion. There is a version you can watch that has been converted to black and white, which is what Bong Joon-ho originally had wanted to do with the movie, but he changed his mind, and they oversaw the transition of the film from color to black and white with him and the cinematographer. And so
Wow.
there was the black and white version, which is very, very cool as well. And uh, when I was living with my old roommate Spencer, he had the coffee book of Bong Joon Ho's storyboards from Parasite that he hand drew himself, and so I would flip through that a lot and look at all of his storyboards in there. So big fan of Parasite, and as a result, I mean, I had already seen a couple of Bong Joon Ho's movies before Parasite. I had seen Snowpiercer at some point, and I had seen uh, one other. I can't remember which one of the ones I had seen before. Maybe it was just Snowpiercer. I can't remember. But following Parasite, I became a huge fan. I watched The Host. I've seen The Host many, many times. I have the Criterion of Memories of Murder, which I think is also. I thought it was really good. I didn't love it as much as I thought I was going to, but I think I need to rewatch it probably soon now, actually.
Hmm.
I've seen Barking Dogs Never Bite, Sleeping Dogs, Barking Dogs Never Bite, Sleeping Dogs Never Bite.
Can't help
His
you.
first
No, I'm
movie.
not sure.
It's one of those two titles. It's his first movie. Not the biggest fan, but there was like a sequence in the middle where one character is telling a story, and it's like a 10-minute sequence of like literally just this guy and he's giving a story around like a fire, and it's a great scene and a great story that he wrote. Mother, I've seen a couple times. That one's actually really good and underrated, I think. I've seen, what else did he make?
Okja.
I've not seen Okja.
Oh,
Unfortunately, it's the only one I haven't seen. I think. God, am I missing any of Bong Joon-ho's movies? I know I'm missing one. I have to be. Barking Dogs Over White, uh, Mother, Host, Memories of Murder, Parasite, Snowpiercer, Okja.
I think that's all of them.
That might be it. Yeah, but big fan. Love Bong Joon Ho. Love his movies. His stylism is fantastic. The Host is one of the best movies ever. It's so cool. And Parasite is one of the best, like absolutely one of the best movies ever. It's in my top three of all time. Uh, huge fan. Mickey 17, one of the most highly anticipated movies for me of last year. Then it got pushed to January of this year. Then it got pushed again to March of this year. And finally, after such a long wait, 5, 6 years now since Parasite came out. Talk
Mm-hmm.
about directors who have taken a while to drop a movie. 6 years
Exactly. I
since
hope he's
Parasite.
deep into like developments. He needs to be like shooting his next film right now. Like that's
He
insane.
is. His next film is supposedly going to be about something going on in the subways of Seoul in Korea, and it's like a
Mm.
project he's. It's like a passion project he's had for 20 years now that he's been wanting to make for a long time. So, also very highly anticipating that one. That one sounds cool. Yeah. I as much as I enjoy his English language films, this one and Snowpiercer are the only two I've seen. I think his Korean films are infinitely better, and I think,
Gotcha.
I mean, it is assumedly significantly easier, or I shouldn't say easier, but uh, more natural to make a film in your own native language than a language you do not understand, or a
Oh yeah,
language that is not your native language, I should say, because he
yeah.
does speak English. I imagine it is much more natural to do so, and probably results in closer to the vision that he has. Because he wrote Mickey 17 based on the novel, which is an English language novel, and
Mm-hmm.
so there's a process of the novel getting translated into Korean, and then him translating the Korean novel back into an English film with like American and British actors. And I think for the most part, my overall impression of Mickey 17, having seen it last night, I really liked it. I thought it was really good.
All
I was
right, there you
satisfied. I wasn't like in love with it. I think I have some qualms about the first 40-ish minutes of the movie, but overall, very entertaining, incredible production quality, and great performances all around, and very unique, very unique, as his movies always are.
go.
Ryan,
Mm-hmm.
your impressions of Mickey 17?
I am sort of right there with you. I thought it was pretty good. I'm not in love with it, but I do love that we got this big blockbuster with so much of his specific style and his approach to things, because this is just not something you typically see in these blockbusters. Like there's a solid portion of the film where it's Mickey 17 and Mickey 18 and Nasha, I believe is the name
Yeah,
of his girlfriend, um, as they're navigating what's about to be a threesome between them. And then some other girl shows up and is pissed off that uh, she is not able to get Mickey 17. And then so they try and make a deal there. And multiples are supposed to be completely illegal in the whole situation. So it's just like taking that idea of like the cloning, and it could have been, again, just a much more straightforward like action film, but he finds the room for the weirdness that would come from all of it and the more human like questions of uh like not even trying to deal with the ethics of it, but just like what would go down if we did this, like we approached it that way. I think that is delightful to see in such a big blockbuster film. And then having the creepers. Do we get a name, like a specific real name for their alien species?
nope, they're just
That
called
isn't.
creepers.
Dang, hate to see it. But anyway, those creepers are very fun and interesting as well, like the way they operate. So yeah, I love the creativity that's in there. I love the way that he's able to combine what would be those big blockbuster sensibilities with something that's more just unusual and out there and silly a lot of times, wacky a lot of times, and they fully commit. I mean, these you were talking about the performances there. I mean, they definitely all go for it, but especially Robert Pattinson. I
Oh,
mean,
he's killing it.
insane as both 17 and 18. I guess all the ones before that too, but
He is
especially
killing
that
it, man.
dichotomy between the two of them was amazing. So I appreciate a whole lot about it. Again, I don't know that it all actually works together and lands the plane in the way I would have loved, but um, definitely a worthwhile experience. Again, this is like the type of blockbuster that I wish was dominating cinema, because at least it's unique, it's entertaining. If it doesn't work, it's still compelling. So yeah, that's my overall impressions on it.
Yeah. I think let's get into spoiler territory first. The movie starts with Mickey, being in this pit, and he's frozen over and he's about to die, and his friend Stephen Yeun is being nonchalant about his death, and it's when you learn that he is someone who has died many, many times in some way or capacity, and he's considered an expendable, things like that. I don't know how sold I am on the concept of the movie because this is something that movies do a lot where you start in the middle, you explain your way up to that middle, and then you continue with the story.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how sold I am on it doing it for this film specifically. I don't think it's a bad choice. I just think the bit where you from the beginning to catching up to that middle takes so long to get to that Mickey 17 title card, which is it's really funny that they still decided to include the Mickey 17 title card in there. I just it's so much exposition dumping to catch you up on the story that I feel like maybe it would have been better served just being told straight from the get go, keeping the narration, even though the narration ultimately doesn't like serve as much of a purpose if you are telling it as a straight story. I think just maybe I think his internal monologue works better than the narration because I think it's kind of funny. He's such a quirky character that the internal monologue is kind of fun to hear.
Mm-hmm.
I think I get just kind of it's slower and it's just kind of more boring to catch up on all that stuff. And I'm like, I just want to get to the clone hijinks where the two of them because I know it's going to happen. I've seen the trailer. I know the movie's
Yeah.
about. I want to get to the clone hijinks where there are two of them together because that is the meat of the story. That is where the story is. And there is just so much exposition that needs to be done about who all the characters are, how they know each other, what their relationships are like, building up those relationships so that there's like arcs that happen for the rest of the movie. Uh, uh, like explaining the whole world itself, how it functions, explaining
Mm-hmm.
what expendables are, how that's made, explaining what happened to Mickey's 1 through 16. Uh, there's just so much that you have to be caught up on that I feel like maybe that part could have been told a little quicker. Maybe there are things that could have been cut out for the sake of expediency, and then they could have added more meat to the rest of the movie. Because I think everything after that title card, where Mickey 18 is introduced, I think is just so much more exciting and more phenomenal. And I'm just so much more invested in the story and so like present with what's going on that I care much more than I did with that first. I mean, it's just very it is fortunately doing the thing that movies should do, which is it gets better as it goes along. I think that's great. I think there's nothing worse than a movie that gets worse as it goes along. That is
Mm-hmm.
definitely like a big cinema sin for me. But I think it is. Uh, I think it's still not great that the movie doesn't start off strong. I think it would be better if. I mean, the best kind of movie is the one that starts strong and stays strong throughout and ends fantastic. But I feel like this movie had the opportunity to start off better by limiting how much exposition is told in that first 40 minutes and making that closer to like 20 minutes, maybe just catching us up on because I feel like we could have learned more about Nasha and their relationship through everything after Mickey 18 gets introduced by adding more scenes with Nasha in that portion. And I think we could have
Mm-hmm.
learned more about Stephen Ewan's character through that way and like everything to do with the mob boss in that part of the movie. I think what's important in the first exposition dump before the title card is what is an expendable, what is their mission that they're on in space, who are these very, very much side characters like Mark Ruffalo and all them that we need to know about because they won't show up until much later in the film as important characters, and explaining like the rules of the ship that they're on and things like that, and like the rules of being expendable and like why multiples are illegal. Because that part of the story I thought was really cool. The psychopath who makes multiples, who is a
Yeah,
killer.
I thought that
That
was a
part was neat. I thought
very
that was a very interesting little dump that they had, a little
exactly.
info dump.
Yeah, because
And
it
I wish
talks
there was
about
more bits like that that they could had explained about like what a multiple is. And then 20 minutes in, then you could drop a title card, and then you have Mickey 17 going back, and then you can explore more of the relationships following that portion. Because that first portion is very much like montage sequence. We're going to be cutting through quick with a lot of narration to explain everything, and it just goes on for so long. And
mhm,
even though Goodfellas is my favorite movie, and that whole movie is like that, I just think in a movie where you are trying to get to action, like actual action, I think you need to be quicker about it. I suppose. I just wish it had been quicker to that point because everything after that title card, I think, is phenomenal. I think the best character development they do for Nasha is that towards the end of the movie when they are being put in the prison cell for the last time before they go to the final sequence, and he's remembering how when he died every single time Nasha was there for him, and they show the scene where all the doctors are like celebrating that like they cured whatever disease they had, and she's in the chamber with Mickey holding him while
mhm.
she's wearing like a hazmat suit while he dies. That's so touching. That's like that she still values him as a person every single time he comes back, and that she loves
It
him very, very
is.
much. I was like, that is so, so sweet. I value her character so much more now. And like you did all of that character, explaining that you did in the first part of the movie could have just been taken care of right now, like you did with this scene, and that other stuff could have been like minimized to save time and expanded upon later in the story when the meat's really cooking, when you're really going with the story.
Right.
That's my only qualm with Mickey 17. Other than that, loved the movie, loved it.
Mhm. Yeah, I don't disagree with that part at all. I didn't have as much an issue with that opening portion. I do think some elements could have been trimmed down, but I actually did like a lot of the Nasha and Mickey
Hmm.
17 things. Like it was just all of the Mickeys there. Um, and so yeah, I was actually fairly invested in that relationship, and I like how he has that moment. I forget the character's name, but the other woman that he's in the room with her, and she tries to make a move, but he's like, "No, I gotta
Kai,
get
something like
Nasha."
that.
Yeah, I think that is it. Um, and so I like that too. How he was completely faithful to her, and they had like such a strong connection. So I really enjoyed that part. But you're right. The most effective scene of their relationship is her putting on the like hazmat suit and going into the chamber where he is as he's
That shit
getting
was
like gassed with
emotional.
this toxin. So that was like really really good.
Yeah,
So it would have
because
been
you
great
spent the
to
whole movie
move that
watching
up.
people treat him like shit because he's expendable, and they
Exactly.
they are raising like an interesting ethical point of like, why should I care about your death if you're just going to come back tomorrow? In
Hmm.
theory, if you were the exact same person with the exact same memories, even though your physical body has died, you like continue on in a way. Why should anybody really care if you die or if you feel pain or anything? And she's the only one who really treats him like a person. Even Kai, even though she like exhibits scenes of her caring about him, I think still only considers him like just a bag of flesh in a lot of ways, like expendable in a lot of ways. I really think
Hmm.
Nasha's the only one who truly cares about Mickey for the person that he is, and she cares about him for that person every single time he comes back, regardless of what personality differences he has based on the cloning process. She still always cares about him.
For sure. And I
I
think
like that.
the one of the most successful parts of the film is Mickey 17 specifically, in the way that they're able to characterize him and make us very much care for him. So everything like Robert Pattinson did as well with that
Oh yeah.
the voice that he does and just the sad, like timid demeanor, the way he carries himself throughout all of it. Like you do care so much for this guy and you're like, stop being such jerks and vile people to him. Like
Hmm.
just let him chill. He's so
Yeah.
like you want to
I
him to
think
be
in the
okay.
trailer they made him seem more like okay with dying. I think than he
Hmm.
actually is in the movie. Because in the movie itself, he's still very much like every single time he's like, please not this time. Please just put in the little extra effort. Like with Steven Ewan's down there, and he's like, he comes back with a flamethrower, and he's like, can you please get me out? And he's like, sorry, the wire only extends this far, and it would be dangerous otherwise. And he's like, he doesn't say like, he's just like, please come down. He's begging him. And then
Yeah,
in the scene where he's still alive and they're throwing him into the vat of lava, in
yeah,
the trailer, I think he just says it's okay, whatever, and then they throw him in. But in the movie, he's just like still loopy and out of it, but he wants to live. He's like trying to say, "I'm fine, please don't kill me," and then they just kill
yeah.
him anyway. They go, "It's whatever. He'll come back tomorrow."
Very true. So I think those elements were successful. As far as what was not so successful to me, I think there's just some subplots that weren't as fleshed out in the way that I would have
Hmm.
loved.
Yeah,
Stephen Yeun, particularly his character,
yeah,
we don't really feel the gravity of their, I guess, friendship in the first part. It was hard to read that too, of like if they're really like friends or just having to get mixed up together. But
the macaroon
once,
business is funny.
yeah, once they're on the ship, there's like one shot where they're at the table together in the cafeteria. But other than that, we don't really get much from
Yeah,
the two of them until like later in the prison scene where
hmm
he's like, clearly feeling bad about having to kill
hmm
Mickey 17, but he's like, well, I gotta do it because it'd be you or
yeah.
me, and like I don't get to come back. Um,
That I think is like an interesting thing that could have been explored more had they made it seem more like Stephen Ewan and Robert Pattinson were friends in the movie. Because it just doesn't.
exactly.
They say that they're friends, but there
You
is
don't feel it at
nothing.
all because he comes
And
up
Mickey
and such a
18,
dick
like
to him.
Mickey 18 calls that out. He's like, "Why the fuck do you think he's your friend? He's a dickhead, and you know he's a dickhead because I'm you.
Yeah,
We both think he's a dickhead. You're just not willing to say it." And it's like, if that's like the case, at what point were they friends? Like, what? When do they come together and decide to be associates? Has he just always been a dick to Mickey? I guess.
I guess
I
so,
think
but it's
I think it
also
would have
like,
made the gravity of like the decision of like, please, can you do this for me? Can you like die for me? You will come back tomorrow. I won't. Please die. I think that would have made that whole argument a lot more interesting.
for sure. But the end of the film, where we see Stephen Yeun gets out of it okay, like he's able to take down that associate of the loan shark that's trying to kill him. So they give him a happy ending. They go out of their way to
Mhm.
show us that happy ending. So it's like we want to like this guy and see him be okay, but again, we just don't really believe that friendship too much. I also think Kai, her character, was also like very
I agree.
uh underutilized. There's that one again centerpiece scene where they're like talking with each other in her room, but overall,
I think
I,
the
I
idea
didn't
of them wanting to
notice
split the
anything.
Mickeys, I think, is kind of funny.
Yeah, but that was
I
just
was
like
like,
a
you get
one-off
one, I get one.
little thing, and I guess she's trying to get comfort. But was she friends or was she like something more with that the other woman that like
No
died
idea.
from the ice
All they
thing?
say is friends, but maybe it's implied something more. But all they
Yeah,
say is friends. I have no idea. They were
interesting.
important to each other. That's all we know.
Yeah, so yeah, she didn't entirely work for me either. And then curious on your thoughts about this: Mark Ruffalo, Tony Collette as the Nilfheim leaders. What were your thoughts?
I think it works. I think Tony Collette specifically definitely works. I think Mark Ruffalo works, but I think somebody else might have done a better job
Dang, Mark Ruffalo, the man that you wanted to give the like best supporting Oscar to
for Poor
last year.
Things. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's great in Poor Things. He's very good at playing goofy, like arrogant assholes for sure. And I
Hmm.
think this is kind of like a continuation of that idea, that character archetype that he played in Poor Things, but to a much greater extent with much more authority and power. It just did feel at a lot of times to be too directly influenced by like real world leaders. Like he's trying to emulate actual politicians
Yeah.
in the
Some of
way he
the
goes about.
inflection he did on
Yeah.
some things, I was like, all right, there. And we know his thoughts on Trump and everything. He's quite
Yeah.
outspoken about that. So,
And I don't think that's like a terrible thing. I just wish there was more devotion to making the character unique, I
hmm,
suppose. And I think maybe a different actor, maybe under a different direction, I'm not sure, but I wish it was gone in a different way, I suppose, than the way they went about his character.
Right.
I think Tony Collette is great, though.
I think the both of them worked about 50% of the time for me.
Okay, I think
Because
that's fair.
even in Poor Things, like I think Mark Ruffalo was exquisite for the first like hour that we have on screen, but then as it continued, I was less and less delighted by it. And in this one, which is very much a performance of the same tenor, it also sort of wore on me. Um, and then the Tony Collette thing, like two peas in a pod, I think with that, because they're both having to be very out there, loud, goofy performances. Um, and yeah, not all the times it clicked. It definitely clicked in that dinner scene when
Hmm.
they're feeding poor Mickey 17 the little, the like lab tested meat, and then they
Uh,
start singing at the table.
Dude, that
Like
shit's great.
that was
She's trying to give
fantastic.
a prayer and she can't. She can't give the prayer because she's choking up. So then he starts giving the prayer, and then she cuts him off with the song, and then he immediately joins in on the song. And then the little henchman they have also joins in on the song, and
Yeah,
so they're all just singing the song that I don't understand. It's yeah, that scene is great. And then Mickey starts dying because they try to feed him some poison, I guess, and they try to give him the painkiller, and it makes it worse. And so Mark Ruffalo pulls out the gun and he's gonna shoot him, and Tony Collette goes, "No, my rug."
yeah.
And he
The
goes, "I'll
new
shoot him from the side." And she goes, "The blood."
Yeah,
What
the
did you
because the
think
rug
about?
one I saw coming, but at them having Mark Ruffalo say, "Well, I'll just shoot him from the side," as if like that also won't spray
Yeah,
blood everywhere. That was very funny. That was a nice touch they added.
he's just dumb. Uh, what did you think about Tony Collette's character being just obsessed with sauces? It's all about the sauce.
I
The
don't
sauce is what makes it.
understand why. I don't know why she's trying to create the next great sauce, and I don't know, have a little business there where she's putting out like hot sauce bottles and
Everything's about the
stuff like that.
sauce.
But yeah,
I think had they emphasized more like how grueling the food is on that ship and how like flavor might be the only thing worth living for, I think I could have seen the argument more of like she wants to create this thing that tastes good because they have no food left and it's all bad and she wants it to taste good because she
right.
can because she has the power to do so. I think that like the arbitrariness of like them her wanting to like cut the tails off of these alien creatures just to make something that tastes good so she doesn't have to eat something bad, the willingness she is to
Right.
torture these things for that, I think is a poignant point.
But
But
what
I
did
don't
she even have?
emphasize.
What knowledge did she have that these tails would be tasty and good for sauces?
Yeah,
And
that
then
is a
what did
plot
she
hole.
have in the
She
sauce?
just
Like,
cut
it
it up
looks
and
like
blended it and
she just
tasted it and
blended
goes,
it
"Yeah, it's
and then
good."
had people taste just that, just like
Yeah,
blended
yeah,
tail with nothing else in there. So it's like she's not even chefing it up in there. She just said, "Here,
yeah,
drink creeper tail that's blended."
yeah. And then they do the dream sequence at the end where she's like, "Drink the sauce, drink the
Yeah,
sauce, Mickey."
which didn't quite work for me. What did
It
you
didn't
make of
quite work
that?
for me. I think it's a cool idea. I wish it meant more
Yeah,
because I think the scene itself is good. I just wish I understood what the purpose of it was.
yeah, because
That he
by
has
that
these
point,
anxieties about like the create recreation of these things, these ideas that he fought against, and he's worried about them coming back. I suppose
like
getting
maybe
lost in the
possibly, but
sauce.
it
It just
didn't seem
didn't.
to
Yeah,
connect with anything he was actually struggling through in the
the
film.
deeper meaning didn't land for me because
Hmm.
I didn't realize it was a. I'm sure most people don't realize it's a dream at first, but I really did not think it was a dream until he starts giving the narration about it being a dream,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Oh, okay, it's a dream, whatever." When I thought it wasn't a dream, I was like, "This is an interesting idea that they're using the cloning process to just live forever, as opposed to using it to be an expendable." Because I thought that was going to be a more I thought there was going to be a bigger point to the movie in the sense that like Mark Ruffalo argues that they should use it and only as an expendable to like further human society. Is that his reason for bringing it along? I thought it
Hmm.
would also be so that he himself could live forever by just recreating himself if he ever died. And I thought they would lean in on that, but it ended up being a dream. So it was like, oh, what was the point? I suppose.
Yeah.
I think it would have been
So
more poignant had it not been a dream. But I guess the movie's already pretty long. That would have been a whole like more 20 minutes to it.
I guess so, but then it's like, why bring that up? Like,
Yeah,
what was that
I don't
for?
disagree.
Again, the anxieties or like the guilt with the mom again pressing the red button, but it's like that sort of
I didn't like
resolved
that part
anyway
either.
with Mickey 18 telling him just like chill and get your like head out of it, like you weren't at fault, and then he presses like the red button to destroy the expendable machine at the end. So it's like it feels like we closed that loop. I don't know why we needed to bring in this idea that he's like seeing ghosts in his dreams and what that entails. So yeah, a little an odd curveball to throw in there at the end that ultimately didn't seem like it
Yeah, but the
mattered
scene
in
itself
the
was
grand scheme.
cool.
It was,
Yeah.
yeah. I just wish if they didn't go all the way with it and have him have to decide like, oh, do I now kill this expendable, or is there a way to make the expendable better than the original because Mickey 18 turned out so different than Mickey 17, and are they their own persons, things like that. That would have been interesting to go down, but they don't, so I would have just not seen it at all in that case.
Mhm. Yeah. Did you ever watch Snowpiercer?
I have not.
Okay. It is similar in the sense that it is like a dystopian society, much like this one, sci-fi related, and it is also kind of like. I mean, I think a lot of Bong Joon-ho's stuff, including Parasite, is about class struggles, and I
Hmm.
think Mickey 17 falls into that category as well. Uh, and I think Snowpiercer handles like the finer points of what it's trying to say better. But I think Mickey 17 in a moment to moment basis is more entertaining at times. I think Snowpiercer is great, but I think the world that he's built in Mickey 17 is so fascinating. I wish whatever point he's trying to make with the deeper meanings, I wish he had done so in a more clear vision. Because I think Bong Joon-ho is really good at creating these fantastical worlds that combine both satire and like very dark real moments and being able to
Hmm.
balance the two very, very well in order to get a point across that he wants to convey. I think Mickey 17 is one of those instances where I don't think much of a point was gotten across, or at least not as strongly as I think he wanted to get it across. This
Mm.
idea of like treating others with respect, not treating others with like not treating others as inferiors, regardless of situation or class or anything. I think it didn't quite. I mean, it does mostly in the sense that they are like colonizing this planet with aliens on it, and the aliens end up being peaceful people. But I think that has been done many, many times. Avatar is a whole franchise that is the exact same concept,
Right.
being anti-colonialism, And this movie just does it again, does it well. And I think that combined with like the way they treat Mickey and Robert Pattinson's performance of Mickey, like you were saying, and selling that the wanting him to be okayness, I think all of that combined conveys the message he's trying to get across, which is to treat others with respect regardless of the situation. And I just don't know what the rest of it, because I think he's trying to sneak in like class commentary. I think he's trying to sneak in commentary upon religious and political leaders that overtake governments with fancy words and little action. I think
Hmm.
there's a lot he's trying to sneak in there that I just think it becomes overpacked at a certain point.
Yeah, because there's the nods to the like religious stuff,
Mhm.
and then there's the nods to the Mark Ruffalo trying to have like this all documented, like a documentary that's being made about his life and the founding of Nilfheim and everything. And so again, you could read that as going back to like the
It's Niflheim,
reality
right? Niflheim?
TVification of what is it?
It's Niflheim, right?
Niflheim, maybe. I know it ends in
Because
Heim and starts with an N,
because
but
the whole time they're saying Niflheim, I'm like, yeah, it's Niflheim. But every time Mark Ruffalo said it, I could have sworn he was saying Niflheim, which he might have as an intentional choice to like as the actor would to mispronounce it on purpose because he's stupid.
right.
The character's supposed to be stupid, calling it Niflheim instead of Niflheim because I think it's spelled with a PH instead of an F. So I think
Mm,
that is
makes
kind of
funny.
funny, but I have to go back and rewatch it because I was like, why does he's saying Nibelheim? I know he's saying Nibelheim, but there's no way it's called Nibelheim.
Yeah, it's not Nibelheim, but that'd
It's
be really funny if he
Niflheim,
was just calling it the
but I
wrong
think he's
thing.
calling it Nibelheim.
Dang, crazy.
It's funny.
So yeah, they have like all those moments in there, and then again, just like the character of Mark Ruffalo in general uh, is all like incorporating that stuff. But yeah, I feel the same way that it doesn't all come together. There's not like enough time spent individually on any of them to really hit, and then on some of the stuff, and it's like how far are we going into the satire here? Where
Yeah,
and again, it's like our real world crazy stuff's going on again. Like it's beyond satire, but seeing it
Yeah.
sustained with like every instance of Mark Ruffalo's character is a little much for that. So yeah, I agree with you there. I've also
Did
heard Okja
you?
is like a probably the most similar of his films to this one.
Mhm. Did
So might be
you?
worth exploring that.
Did you think? Did you like Mark Ruffalo in the final scene that he's in, where they're in like the chamber and he has her holding the baby by her teeth?
When he does that, I was like, okay, now we're talking. When he was like, bite this, leaving in 3, 2, 1, and like made her have to bite it and everything, like that was great. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay, like now we're getting an actual turn to this character. But then
Mhm.
again, it changes with again just some of the like plot decisions that were made of like he goes out to meet the mother, but has the
To
Mickey
give a
17 and
speech.
18 with a bomb. But he was also going to have like drones come by and drop the toxin on them. It was
There's
like,
a
why was
lot
he
going
going
on.
out there
Yeah.
then to do that? Um, and I know that one guy was like telling him like, yeah, this would be great if you go and like talk to them and give them a dignified send off. But it's like, why would he like? He's already doing all this terrible stuff. Like, what's the point of getting that quote unquote dignified send off if the next like thing would be and all of those
Yeah.
creepers were killed in one fell swoop. It just didn't quite click there. And then same with like Mickey 18's attack on him and the way that ended. I was just like, I know that all fully works, but when he did that moment, I thought that was another one of the highlights of the film when she had to grab the rope to make sure that the baby creeper, didn't hit the lava. That was intense.
Hmm.
But yeah. Do you have any other final thoughts on Mickey 17?
Overall, I think it's incredibly well made. I think there were many times where I found myself like lost in the movie, where I just wasn't aware of the fact that I was in a theater, or like thinking about what time it was, or how much longer the movie was left. I was like fully engrossed for sure for like a good chunk of it, especially like the latter half of the movie. I was very much engrossed in that story and wanting it to keep going. And I think it definitely is very, very creative and unique in a lot of ways. Its tone is very much a unique Bong Joon-Ho type of tone that is balancing between that witty satire sort of comicness and the very dark reality of the horrors that these characters are experiencing. And I think it does end up touching like a lot of emotions towards the end. Again, like the Nasha in the tank with Mickey, I think was a very like emotional moment in the movie where it kind of recontextualizes my perceptions of her characters in a lot of ways in a very good way. Where I'm like, this whole time I've seen that she cares about Mickey, and like that she like is with Mickey this entire time dating, but how much of that is like just situation of the fact that they're on this ship? How much of it is like her actually being like a caring person? I don't really know. But then seeing her like go through that effort and go through that all that misery just to help Mickey and to be with Mickey means that she actually really, really cares about him and loves him and is showing it. I think seeing her fight like that made her character so much stronger, and I like that they went that route with it. I think Robert Pattinson steals the show. He's absolutely fantastic in it, and
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the production design and like costuming and all of that will be undervalued come like award season and like come
Mm-hmm.
our year end discussions and whatnot. I think even we will, as time progresses, forget about it and think about other things. But I think while it is fresh in our mind, it should be pointed out that I think the production design, the costume design, and all the creative choices behind the filmmaking of this movie is stellar, fantastic sci-fi greatness, and I hope that we do not forget about it anytime soon because I think it is well designed and well told.
All right. There we go. So how many creeper tail sauces out of 5 are you giving Mickey 17?
I'm gonna give it four creeper tail sauces out of five. I'm gonna
All right.
guess you're gonna give it three.
You know me too well, Dylan. Yes, I'm giving it 3 creeper tail
Oh,
sauces out of 5.
I understand. I was between a 3.5 and a 4 for a long time when I was thinking about it, but I remember being in the theater literally yesterday. I remember being in the theater during that like final sequence, even though there are like plot holes and there's like a lot going on that's hard to
Mm-hmm.
follow. That whole last sequence where they're trying to get the baby back and Mickey 18 is trying to kill Marshall and like the music is swelling and it's getting intense. I was living, dude. I was like, this is blockbuster at its finest. Like I'm on the edge of my seat. I'm excited. I have no idea where it's gonna go. I'm pumped to the max. This is awesome. I was like, I'm gonna give this movie a 4.5, and then I walked out and I was like, eh. There's still some problems I have with it, but I think a 4. It's a solid answer. I think I'm going to go with it.
Well, there you go. That's still a mighty positive rating for your number one most anticipated film of the year.
Number one most anticipated film of last year.
True.
My number one anticipated
Is-
movie this year is The Battle of Bacton Cross by Paul Thomas
Did you
Anderson.
still have Mickey 17 on it? Again, like
Yeah, it
if
was like
under normal
7, I think.
circumstances,
It dropped
no.
down significantly because I had been waiting for it so long. I was no longer at, because I mean, think about it. It took me a week to watch this movie. You know, it came out a week ago, and it took me a week to watch it.
Right.
I didn't go like running to theaters, but I think when the PTA movie comes out, or when Mission Impossible comes out, or any number of movies that are coming out this year come out, I will be there front row. Maybe not front row,
Yeah.
middle of the theater,
Middle of theater.
first in line. Stoked to see it. Very, very excited. I think this is one where I was like, oh, I missed it by a couple of days. I'll wait a couple more days. It'll be whatever. I'll see it at some point. Because I've just been waiting so long for it. But still, good experience. Unique. Always love unique storytelling, unique films. I think everybody should go see it. We should be encouraging people to go to the
We need
theaters
to support
regardless.
it, or we will not get more films like this. It
Yeah.
is flopping. Go see it,
Go
please.
see Mickey 17. Honestly, go see any movie in the theaters. I want theaters to succeed, and they're still not doing too great, especially the smaller chains. Go to your local theater, go to small chains in your region, try and support them.
Rip to the Dollar Theater. Altamont
It's
Picture Show.
gone?
You saw that?
Dead?
Closed
As of when?
a few months ago.
Tragic.
Terrible, terrible news.
Yeah. I only went once though to watch Rocket Man.
I
Not
saw the
really
Whitney
my cup
Houston
of tea,
biopic
the
there.
Dollar Theater is.
You said what?
The Dollar Theater was never really my cup of tea.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely, not your first choice of how to see a movie, but it's a nice way to catch some things that you couldn't get in its main theater run, but don't want to watch it on streaming, or if it hasn't hit streaming yet. But again, there's few movies now. I mean, that's possibly why I got pushed out, because again, Mickey 17 is going to be on streaming by the end of March.
That's
So it's
crazy.
like the Dollar Theater. Why go and see that when you can just bump it up on your
In the same amount of time it
streaming
would take
service?
to get to the Dollar Theater, it's on a streaming service.
Yeah, not even like it takes forever for things to get to the Dollar Theater. It's like months, like 60 days plus, because it needs to go normally the whole run in
Mm-hmm.
regular theaters, and then once it leaves that, then it goes to Dollar Theaters. But now they're shortening the regular theatrical release, putting it on streaming right away. And then there's still, I'm sure, all the like deals that they made with Dollar Theaters and whatnot way
Yeah.
back when, of like when they're able to put in theaters. It still takes forever. So that's probably what pushed our
Yeah.
Dollar Theater out of business. I'm wondering if other Dollar Theaters are also getting like closed nationwide. It sucks.
Yeah, that's the catch to the only in theaters tag they put on trailers. You know, they say very proudly only in theaters. Come to the movie theaters to see this movie. But really, nowadays, that's only in theaters for a month, month and a half ish. And then you can just stream it at home.
There you go. And so
That's
people
tragic.
wait. They know, and so they wait. But
It
we'll
used to
see.
be you go and you see it. It's in theaters for 2 months, maybe 3 if it's having a really good run. If you don't see it in that time, you gotta wait for it to be at Redbox maybe, and a
Yeah,
physical DVD, or rent it from Netflix via mail or
exactly.
Blockbuster way back in the day, or you just
Hmm.
don't see it. And that's it. Those are the good days.
Very true. Very true.
Not really. I mean, I still value the distribution of cinema that streaming has given. I just wish there was a balance between, you know, being able to stream like underappreciated, underseen cinema and not stealing finances away from live theatrical experiences. Which there is a middle ground there. It's just both of them want as much money as they can get, and that means the destruction of the other one. And in that fight, movie theaters will not win.
I mean, movie theaters will always be around, but it's
Yeah,
definitely.
they'll be crippled.
I mean, we've gone through this plenty of times before. It's just the major blockbuster events, like the 25th film in a franchise, or the biggest toy ever, or the biggest video game ever, getting adapted. That will bring people to the theaters. But original films like Mickey 17, I mean,
Not as
compared
much.
to what else we see most of the time, I mean, those are gonna slip through the cracks, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, but that's what I want to see on the big screen.
I know that's why it's so sad, but we'll still be here
That's why you
talking
got to
about it
invest in a
many years from
really
now.
good home theater setup because at this point,
No.
you're gonna have to watch it at home. There needs to be more, because Redbox is dead now too. It's all
Yeah.
just streaming now, and I'm not a fan of streaming content as much as I am of physical media. But I am not in the mood to buy physical media like I was when I was much younger. I have a vast DVD collection now, and I don't want it anymore because it takes up so much space. But I also don't want to stream content. I wish there was only a way I could rent, a DVD for a couple bucks for a week. I would do so. That's what Blockbuster was. That's what Netflix was originally. That's what Redbox was. But now people don't even want to make physical DVDs anymore, even though it is like superior technology. And we all have, if not Blu-ray players, we have at least, gaming systems that can play DVDs perfectly
Hmm.
fine. I am perfectly happy using my PS5 to play a DVD and hooking that up to like a home theater system with a very quality QLED or OLED TV and a sound bar and some good, speakers, and having a close to theatrical experience with a physical DVD that has a higher quality resolution and audio quality than streaming it would, There's nothing worse than watching a movie on a streaming service and having it glitch or having the resolution drop or having the audio not sync up with the words. It's constant issues like that are the problems with streaming that I very much dislike and disdain. Streaming for television, though, perfectly fine with it. Kill cable. Never liked cable. I'm fine cable dying.
Dang.
Not a
So
big
you heard it
fan.
here
I
first.
don't mind
Cable, you're
TV
done.
staying on streaming services because I mean, think about it. Cable also had the same problems that streaming does. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it drops. Not as much as
Mm.
streaming, but still not great. But in
I
terms of
mean, yeah.
like theatrical movies, you will never do better at home than a physical copy. Blu-ray, 4K, whatever you want to call it. That physical copy is always going to be the highest quality thing you can get at home, as opposed to. I mean, I guess if you want to buy your own personal IMAX 75 millimeter projector and then giant 75 millimeter prints of the movies you want to watch,
Easy.
yeah.
Yeah.
But at home specifically on a TV, I mean, you could get the best TV in the world. You can get the best speakers in the world and the best sound bar. You can get like the prime setup. If you stream it, it still will not be as good of a quality as if you had a physical DVD or Blu-ray. I mean,
All
that's just
right.
the truth, man.
Thank you for your TED Talk.
Yeah, we need to bring back some kind of DVD uh, renting service. It shouldn't die. Redbox shouldn't have died.
I don't know what to tell you. If it was getting used enough, then it'd still be around.
I used it. I liked it.
Well, you weren't enough, Dylan.
I
You
wasn't.
weren't enough.
I gave in too. I stopped using it the last couple of years.
Dang.
It's my fault. I was part of the problem. That's because I go to the theaters a lot. It's because I can. I have Regal Unlimited. I see the movies when they come out in the theaters. The DVD services are for the people who have busy schedules and can't quite make the theaters while they're in their limited runs. It's so that you can still see a quality copy of it at home. That's what the DVD is for. Also, you can't destroy physical media outside of just breaking the disc. You can't just delete it from a software. Like many movies and TV shows that you and I have talked about on this show that have been deleted from existence and you can't find them anywhere because there's no physical copies. I don't know how to watch JG Quintel's show after a regular show was called Close Enough on HBO Max. Got rid of it. Not on Max anymore. Can't find it anywhere. Doesn't exist. Just doesn't exist. They've deleted whole movies and shows because they don't want them on their streaming service anymore, and because there's no physical copies, it just does not exist anymore.
Yeah, which is awful.
That is tragic. That's why physical media is important because you just can't just delete it from existence. You can break it, but you're going to break every copy? I doubt it.
Exactly.
Preservation of physical media, both film strips of original prints from the origins of film to now are important, as well as from the 2000s to now, digital prints on DVDs and Blu-ray are also very, very important. And the continuation of making Blu-rays is also important. I saw somewhere that somebody turned down the Criterion Channel to do a version of their movie. It was, I think it was Killers of the Flower Moon. Apple TV turned down No. Yes. It was Killers of the Flower Moon. Apple TV turned down the opportunity for Killers of the Flower Moon to be on Criterion because they didn't want a physical copy of it in existence. They wanted it to be only streamable on Apple TV.
That's terrible.
Yeah. So I don't think you can get a physical copy of Killers of the Flower Moon. I mean, I could Google it right
There
now.
must be. You
It's
can look it
possible.
up. I doubt Scorsese would not allow there to be some print somewhere of Killers of the Flower Moon.
Oh yeah, there's Blu-rays, but there's no Criterion, I guess.
Yeah. So that makes sense. That Apple TV would try and hold that, but I'm like, ain't no way Scorsese would sign a deal that wouldn't allow them to have physical media in some way for that film.
Yeah, that's fair. I wouldn't either. I would. If I was a filmmaker, especially at the caliber of Scorsese, I would always want my movies to be preserved on some kind of physical media that at least I could keep myself.
Yeah. That's what's truly wild is some of the filmmakers don't even, unless they are legally ripped some of the timelines, but they don't even have the actual copies of the films. So,
dude, I would never ever give up a physical copy of my film.
Yeah.
I would find a way to get it, and I would keep it forever because I made that. Otherwise, because it just doesn't exist. Otherwise, it's like you didn't even do it.
Very true. It's horrible.
Yeah. That's all the time we have. If you'd like to give your thoughts on the show, you can email us at theboxofficeshowpod@gmail.com.
Our main title theme for the show is Sundown by Joseph McDade.
If you like the show, please give us 5 stars on whatever podcast app you're listening to. Be sure to tune in next week.